In a world grappling with geopolitical tensions and the specter of war, the ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Russia remains a focal point of international discourse. As the situation evolves, recent developments underscore the complexities and intertwined fates of global powers. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is urging former President Donald Trump to leverage his influence to prevent future Russian aggression, while the U.S. remains involved in diplomatic maneuvers aimed at de-escalating the three-year-long conflict. Overnight on February 9, 2025, Russian forces initiated a large-scale drone attack on Ukrainian cities, deploying 83 drones, of which the Ukrainian Air Force successfully intercepted 61. This barrage, which resulted in a fire at a non-residential building in Kyiv and minor injuries in the northeastern city of Sumy, marks the continued intensity of hostilities on the front lines. Kyiv's mayor Vitaly Klitschko confirmed the attack and reassured citizens that no significant casualties occurred. Despite the chaos. Amid this backdrop of conflict, Zelensky has articulated a clear message to Trump, emphasizing the necessity for robust security guarantees from the United States and Europe to deter further Russian incursions. "If I had an understanding that America and Europe will not abandon us and they will support us and provide security guarantees, I would be ready for any format for talks," Zelensky stated, highlighting the precarious nature of peace in the region. He warned that a frozen conflict would only set the stage for future aggression. Trump, who recently spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin, claimed progress toward a ceasefire but has faced scrutiny over his demands that Ukraine provide the U.S. with critical minerals in exchange for military aid. Zelensky responded favorably to the idea of partnership over Ukraine's rare earth mineral resources, stating, "If we are talking about a deal, then let's do a deal. We are only for it." This exchange illustrates the intertwining of economic interests and security concerns in the ongoing negotiations. Furthermore, Trump's envoy Keith Kellogg has been engaged in discussions with allies to explore options for peace. However, the path to resolution remains fraught with challenges. A senior Russian politician, Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Galuzin, remarked that Moscow has not yet received a viable proposal for peace talks, underscoring the difficulties in reconciling differing perspectives on the conflict's root causes. As the war rages on, the dynamics of international relations evolve. North Korean support for Russia has intensified, with Kim Jong-un recently affirming solidarity with Russia's just cause, further complicating the geopolitical landscape. Meanwhile, reports indicate that Germany has struggled to counter suspected Russian reconnaissance drones near military facilities, highlighting the broader implications of the conflict for NATO and European security. With the situation fluid and developments unfolding rapidly, the next steps are crucial. As Trump is set to meet with Zelensky in the coming days to discuss peace proposals, the global community watches closely. Will Zelensky's pleas for security guarantees resonate with U.S. leaders? Can diplomatic channels yield a sustainable resolution to a war that has reshaped the fabric of Eastern Europe? Only time will tell, but the stakes could not be higher as the world seeks to navigate the complexities of war and peace in the modern age. In the ongoing turmoil of the Ukraine-Russia conflict, the stakes continue to escalate as both sides grapple with the implications of international diplomacy and military strategy. Recent developments underscore a complex interplay of military actions, diplomatic overtures, and the urgent need for resolution, as Ukraine calls for robust security guarantees from Western allies while Russia intensifies its drone assaults. Overnight, Ukrainian officials reported a significant drone attack by Russian forces, with 83 drones launched at Kyiv and Sumy. The Ukrainian Air Force managed to intercept 61 of these drones with no serious injuries reported, although a fire broke out at a non-residential building in Kyiv. Mayor Vitaly Klitschko confirmed the attacks via the Telegram messaging app, highlighting the ongoing threat that these assaults pose to civilian infrastructure. This incident is part of a broader pattern of Russian drone warfare that has increasingly targeted Ukrainian cities, raising alarms about the safety of civilians amid the conflict. As the military situation unfolds, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has issued a clarion call to Donald Trump, urging him to leverage his influence to prevent future Russian aggression. Zelensky emphasized that merely freezing the current conflict would not suffice, as it would inevitably lead to renewed hostilities. "If I had an understanding that America and Europe will not abandon us and they will support us and provide security guarantees, I would be ready for any format for talks," he remarked, underscoring the necessity for solid and unwavering support from the West. In a related diplomatic maneuver, Trump has reportedly spoken with Vladimir Putin, claiming progress toward a potential ceasefire. However, skepticism remains, particularly from Moscow, where Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Galuzin stated that Russia has yet to receive a substantial proposal to begin peace negotiations. His remarks suggest a reluctance to engage in talks that do not address Russia's legitimate interests, reflecting a profound distrust that complicates any path to resolution. Adding another layer to the geopolitical tableau, Zelensky proposed a partnership regarding Ukraine's rich reserves of rare earth minerals, a strategic resource that could bolster U.S. efforts in various technological sectors while providing Ukraine with essential military and economic support. Trump's earlier suggestion that Ukraine could supply these resources in exchange for aid presents a possible avenue for cooperation, although Zelensky stressed that such agreement should not come at the cost of national sovereignty. Meanwhile, the conflict continues to take a toll on both sides. Ukrainian forces have reportedly made advances in the Kursk region, where skirmishes have heightened as Russia attempts to regain footing. The dynamic battlefield is further complicated by the reported arrival of North Korean workers in Russia, ostensibly to fill labor shortages exacerbated by the war. This influx raises concerns about the extent of Russia's reliance on foreign support to sustain its military endeavors. As the war drags on, the humanitarian implications for Ukraine remain dire. The international community watches closely as the situation develops, with potential repercussions for global energy security and regional stability. The involvement of figures like Trump in the diplomatic fray may signal a shift in the approach to negotiations, but skepticism abounds regarding the feasibility of achieving lasting peace in a context marked by deep-seated mistrust and ongoing military hostilities. Looking ahead, the coming weeks will be critical as diplomatic talks unfold and military strategies evolve. The urgency for a resolution grows ever more pressing, underscoring the need for a cohesive and sustained international response to the conflict that respects Ukraine's sovereignty and addresses the underlying tensions that have led to this protracted confrontation. As both sides prepare for what may come next, the global community remains vigilant, hoping for a diplomatic breakthrough that could finally bring an end to the suffering wrought by this conflict. In a significant twist in the ongoing Ukraine conflict, U.S. President Donald Trump has publicly claimed to have engaged in dialogue with Russian President Vladimir Putin, marking the first official acknowledgement of contact between the two leaders since the onset of the war nearly 3 years ago. This revelation comes amidst a backdrop of deteriorating U.S.-Russia relations, with Kremlin officials stating that the relationship is teetering on the brink of collapse. At a press conference on Monday, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov highlighted the fragile state of diplomacy, with Washington asserting that relations are balancing on the brink of a breakup. He emphasized that the war in Ukraine would persist until Kyiv abandons its aspirations for NATO membership and withdraws from the 4 Russian-occupied regions. This tough stance reflects Moscow's unyielding approach to negotiations, indicating that without addressing the core issues fueling the crisis, meaningful progress remains unattainable. Trump's remarks, made during a flight aboard Air Force One, were met with skepticism from Russian officials. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov declined to confirm the nature of the conversation, stating that he would neither confirm nor deny Trump's claims. Nonetheless, Trump expressed optimism about future discussions, saying, "I expect to have many more conversations. We have to get that war ended," while lamenting the loss of young lives in the conflict. As the situation unfolds, experts are analyzing the implications of Trump's outreach and the potential for renewed dialogue. Keir Giles, a senior fellow at Chatham House, suggested that while Trump's intentions might be genuine, there is a lack of a concrete plan, echoing concerns that his previous promises of swift resolutions may not materialize.
The upcoming Munich Security Conference, where Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will be present alongside U.S. officials, is anticipated to shed more light on the evolving dynamics.
In the context of these developments, the Ukrainian leadership is wary of any negotiations that might sideline Kyiv.
President Zelensky has asserted that no discussions about Ukraine should occur without Ukrainian involvement,
emphasizing the need for security guarantees from the US and Europe.
This sentiment highlights the delicate balance between engaging with Russia and ensuring that Ukraine's sovereignty and interests are prioritized.
Meanwhile, the Russian military continues to make gains on the battlefield, further complicating the scenario. Experts suggest that Putin may have little incentive to negotiate, particularly given the current trajectory of the conflict. Fyodor Lukyanov, a prominent Russian political analyst, pointed out that the notion of an urgent need for Putin to reach an agreement is misguided, as his regime faces no substantial domestic pressure to end the war. As Trump positions himself as a potential peacemaker, the geopolitical ramifications of his approach are under scrutiny. Analysts caution that any perceived concessions to Putin could embolden authoritarian regimes worldwide and undermine Western alliances. Sir Kim Darroch, former British ambassador to the U.S., articulated concerns that history may view Trump unfavorably if he is seen as conceding to Russian interests. The Kremlin's strategy appears to involve leveraging any potential dialogue with Trump to enhance its global standing while maintaining a firm grip on its military objectives in Ukraine. Putin's rhetoric suggests he may view Trump's overtures as an opportunity to manipulate Western responses and further his agenda in the region. In conclusion, as the situation in Ukraine remains fluid, the coming days will be critical in determining the trajectory of US-Russia relations and the prospects for peace. With the Munich Security Conference on the horizon, the world watches closely to see whether diplomatic efforts can pave the way for a resolution or if the conflict will continue to escalate. As both sides navigate this complex landscape, the stakes for Ukraine, the US, and global security have never been higher. In a significant diplomatic development, Vice President JD Vance is scheduled to meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the Munich Security Conference, which kicks off on February 14, 2025. This meeting marks a critical moment as Ukraine continues to navigate its ongoing conflict with Russia, which began nearly 3 years ago following Russia's invasion in February 2022. The upcoming discussions come at a time when President Donald Trump has expressed intentions to engage with both Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin, potentially reviving peace talks that have been stalled for years. The anticipation surrounding Vance's meeting with Zelensky highlights the importance of U.S. support for Ukraine. Zelensky, who will lead Ukraine's delegation at the conference, has been vocal about the need for unwavering assistance from both the U.S. and European partners. In an interview with ITV News, he emphasized that he is prepared for negotiations if there is an understanding that America and Europe will not abandon us and they will support us and provide security guarantees. This plea underscores the precarious situation faced by Ukraine as it seeks to maintain its sovereignty and territorial integrity amidst aggressive Russian ambitions. President Trump, who recently returned to the White House, has indicated that he is making progress in discussions related to the conflict. "I will probably be meeting with President Zelensky next week, and I will probably be talking to President Putin," Trump stated, expressing a desire to see an end to the hostilities. However, the conditions for any potential peace deal remain contentious. Russian officials, while open to dialogue, have reiterated that their long-standing goals, including the annexation of Ukrainian territories and an opposition to Kyiv's NATO aspirations, remain unchanged. The backdrop of these diplomatic efforts is marked by continued military exchanges. Just days before Vance's planned meeting, drone attacks between Ukraine and Russia persisted, with both sides reporting substantial losses. The Ukrainian Air Force managed to intercept a significant number of Russian drones, but civilian areas still faced threats, revealing the ongoing volatility in the region. In light of this, Zelensky's warning against a frozen conflict resonates deeply. He cautioned that failing to resolve the situation would only lead to further aggression from Russia. As the Munich Security Conference approaches, the stakes for both Ukraine and the West are high.
The US and its allies must carefully navigate their support for Ukraine while managing relations with Russia.
The outcomes of these discussions could significantly influence the trajectory of the conflict and the geopolitical landscape in Eastern Europe. In conclusion, the upcoming meetings at the Munich Security Conference and potential talks in Washington could either pave the way for renewed diplomatic efforts or further complicate an already intricate situation. As both sides prepare for negotiations, the world will be watching closely to see if a path toward peace can be forged or if hostilities will continue to escalate. The next few weeks could be pivotal in determining the future of Ukraine and its relationship with both the United States and Russia.